I'm trying to recreate the top of this vintage wedding cake from 1973 for one of my customers' 50th wedding anniversary, so I ordered this set from Amazon. And in part one, I asked you guys if you know how it works because it didn't come with instructions and it doesn't really make sense to me. So thank you for the ideas. I'm going to start assembling the cake. I first have an 8-inch cake plate I'm going to use for my 8-inch tier, but then I realized that I don't need to use that cake plate. I can just use one of my regular 12-inch cake boards for this tier. And the customer chose my Bubbles and Berries cake flavor, which is rosé champagne cake with layers of vanilla buttercream and strawberry buttercream. Now adding a crumb coat, scraping it smooth, and I'm going to chill this in the refrigerator while I start working on the smaller 6-inch top tier. And for this top tier, I'm using a 6-inch plate, and then I'm going to use some tape to secure that to my cake board so that I can work on it more easily. I'm also adding some buttercream onto the cake plate and pressing the cake down on top. And I'm still not exactly sure if I'm doing this correctly. I'm just trying to do it the way that makes sense to me, and hopefully it's going to work out in the end. Now adding a crumb coat onto this smaller top tier, then scraping that smooth as well, and I'm going to chill it in the refrigerator while I go back to working on the bottom tier. So now I'm going to add the straws, which will support the columns and then hold up the top tier of the cake. I'm using a 6-inch cake board to measure out where I'm going to put the straws down through the cake, and also making sure the columns are going to sit underneath that smaller top cake plate. Now adding in the 4 straws, but they're a little bit taller than I need them to be, so I put one of the columns on top and then mark off the extra part of the straw, take that and cut it off. Now taking the other straws to measure that, and right here is where I realized that what I just did doesn't make any sense because this straw is way too short, so I take it back out of the cake. Luckily I have a few extras. Now remeasuring the straws with the column, but this time I realize I have to cut off the very top part of the straw, so that way when I put the column on, it will be exactly the perfect height to support the top tier of the cake. Checking to make sure everything is level and the columns all look even. Now I've taken the top tier back out of the fridge. I pulled that little piece of tape off and I'm going to set it on top of the columns. So far everything looks pretty good, but I have to say it does seem a little bit wobbly because the cake is on a plastic plate and the columns are also plastic, so it could slide off very easily. I still feel like I'm not quite doing this right, so please let me know if you guys have any ideas on this situation.